What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Camera Junkie live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat so that I can know you and you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. And with that being said, as tradition goes around here, the first thing that I do is actually go ahead and check out to see exactly who's in chat. So let's go ahead and do that to see exactly who's in the house. Quick second. Haven't been doing too much speaking today, so I wanted to clear the pipes before we got things started. All right, and right off the bat, we have Parker Jennings in the house saying hello to everyone. We also have Mr. Moderator, Paul Duncan, saying what's up. Jim Mundy is in the house saying hello to everyone and happy Saturday. It is a happy Saturday. Kevin Cox also made it. He's saying hello to everyone. Says it looks like he's talking to himself, and this is him. This is Paul talking about, you know, the countdown timer, and just to rest, you know, everyone's mind at ease. I was talking to myself. I was actually, you know, addressing all the cameras and make sure that, you know, scene 1, scene 2 was correct, scene 3, and even scene 4 overhead was all on point. So that was me just, you know, doing the tech check and then checking my water and seeing like, hey, I was out of water, so I had to grab a water bottle on the fly. Because I checked my filtration system real quick and I was like, oh, there's nothing there. So have to add some more. Jeremy's also here saying, hey fam, happy Saturday Eve, right? And depending on where you find yourself today, it depends on what time you might be watching me. But here's a question that I rarely ask. What are you guys drinking? On top of that I was mentioned that I'm drinking water, I also have my Monster Energy hanging off, not too far off. So let me know in chat what beverage of choice you have in hand tonight as we hang out in the Camera Junkie live stream. Okay, and let me double check. Paul, send me a quick message real quick on Discord if you can, to let me know the volume of the music, because I'm checking the levels visually compared to what I'm hearing in my ear, and I just want to make sure that it's, you know, that it's all good. Michael made it. He's saying hello to all. Finally, Saturday free. Busy man, but thank you for hanging out and taking the time. George is also in the house saying happy Saturday. Michael says talking things out always helps me on set as well. Absolutely. You'd be surprised. One thing is, like, you know, this is a way of thinking about it, right? Like speaking it into existence by not just thinking about it, but by speaking it aloud, because you might seem like, you know, you're a little bit off your rocker, but then things kind of magically happen. And here's a quick example. I've always implemented that, right? So let's say I'm looking for a particular item. I will literally call out that item aloud, right? So let's say it's a pair of scissors that I'm looking for. As I'm looking for them, I actually call aloud, like, scissors, where are you? Scissors, I'm looking for you, to kind of like have the scissors kind of like say, hey, here I am, so to speak. And I know it's all in jest, right? But the reason why is because things happen within the background that you might not be aware of. So the example that I'm going to give is a little funny, but it was when I had my repair shop and I was looking for my favorite, most particular screwdriver to do my repairs. And as I'm like I know I left it on my desk, right? So I'm like looking around and I'm like, where could it possibly be, right? I could have spent 15 minutes breaking my head looking for my screwdriver on, near, or around my desk, right? I could have easily just spent there before anything, but the first thing I did was call it out, right? Call it out to the universe and say, screwdriver, where are you, screwdriver? Right? And right as soon as I did that, my employee, so to speak, that was working in the front of the house had actually taken my screwdriver for just a quick second. And as soon as he heard me call it out into the universe, he comes magically and appears with it in his hands and hands it to me. And I'm like, you had it? He's like, yeah, as soon as I heard it. I was like, so it just goes to show you that it may sound weird, but it actually has worked to my benefit so many times. So take that, for what it's worth. But it's a method that I've used a lot, that is just call things out into existence and they end up happening, or definitely leading you to the correct path. So like I said, I could have spent 15 minutes just wasting time looking for it before I said anything, and he would have been up like in the front of the house, none the wiser, because he was just using it for a quick second, and I could have just frustrated myself and lost time. But a simple question, right, gave me the correct answer. So there you go. All right, let's continue. Paul says coffee. Oh, so now we're seeing what we're drinking here. Paul is drinking coffee. Jim Mundy's got a Diet Coke with him. Good old H2O water for Mr. Kevin Cox. French Market coffee, nice. And we got water for Mr. Jennings as well. Gretchen's in the house saying hello to me, Aiden, and the crew. Oh, thank you, sir. Kevin is reminding everyone that if you haven't hit that like button, to please do so. It's highly appreciated. Call it out to the universe, right? All the thumbs up. Yep. Now we're going to get all the hundreds of thousands of upvotes. You understand? But if you are here hanging out today, we usually have a topic of choice. I usually try to get something and talk about, but I kind of just want to figure out what you guys are doing, right? Like, what are your plans for the upcoming holiday, and what are your preparations as far as, the upcoming cyber weekend that follows this, holiday, this being Thanksgiving, popping up in just a couple of days now, right? I didn't even set up that calendar and I'm looking at it. I just realized that thing still says November down here. And I haven't even written it out, so let's not even go there. But that's how busy I've been, right? And I'm about to go spend some time with my sister and my fam, going to her house on Thursday. And it's going to be kind of like an early Thanksgiving, especially for a Puerto Rican household. It's going to be like around 4 o'clock, right? And I tell you the truth, it feels like it was just not too long ago that, like just the other day, that I was throwing away the leftovers that I couldn't get to from last year's Thanksgiving. So I'm like or last year's Christmas, better said. So it's just pretty interesting because that was the last holiday that I partook in. So, yeah, so let me know what you guys are getting into, because, when it comes to the cyber weekend deals, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that there's so much bang for your buck nowadays as there used to be, right? As far as like, unless you're in the market for a television, then maybe, but even at that point, like, I really think that everyone's pretty much good with their, size of television, besides you know, some freak accident that you've broken your LCD, you know. But if well taken care of, they're not just gonna die. And I've been using my LCDs for like 10 years, so I could use an upgrade, but at the same time I don't need one, right? I'm very happy with what I have. And it's funny because I don't have the biggest LCDs. So just to show you, this screen right here, this is a 23 or 24 inch, right? And I have another matching one right here as well. And the max resolution on these is 1080. So I only go up to 1080 at 23 inches. But the fact that it's so close to me and it has an OLED panel, it's an amazing setup, and it's been an amazing television, because this isn't even like a standard computer monitor. I use televisions for my displays and have been using that for years. But if you were to like just dig a little bit right into professional gamers and what professional gamers use for their setups, it's going to be very similar to what I just showed you. And that's something that shocked me, because they're not running 4K screens. They're not running 1440. They're running 1080 at a 23 to 24 inch size, because it is good enough to give them the entire field of view of the game that they're playing. They don't want to be overwhelmed with so much pixelation like they're in an IMAX theater, right? And not see the person coming around the corner because they were literally kind of pixeled out of their field of view. So it's just, you know, to each his own. And that's why I said I've been very happy with my setup for years. So unless it is that you're up for a television, which I'm squirreling a bit, I don't really see a lot of impactful deals that are coming up for the holiday. I actually think you could get them beforehand and not even wait, right? But that's why I wanted to hear from you guys as well, because I guess that's with my limited bit of information, right? But maybe you guys have found where it is to get the best deals for the Cyber Weekend, and I would appreciate it if you guys let me know, because I might be interested. So let's see what the chat what the chat is saying. Paul saying Gretchen is stalking me. That's funny. It says, you mean you aren't gonna grab that 90s TV? 90-inch TV. That's the whole thing. Like, I was actually talking to somebody else, and I was like, I actually don't own. Let me double check. Do I? No, I don't own a 4K screen. Right? Check this out. You talk about a 90-inch TV, right? I don't own a 4K screen. Unless that one's 4K. Is it? I'm not even sure because of the size. So let me explain. Yeah, actually, no, it's 1080. So in my small space here, and if you can see, I have a huge window right there. Another window that houses the AC. The door. Then I have the small area for like the kitchenette, which is a lot of also like cabinetry up top. And within that space is where I have a little chunk of wall where I was able to fit a 32-inch 1080 television that's on an articulating arm, so that I can pull it away from all of the kitchen stuff when I'm cooking and stuff like that, and actually use it for Aiden like he's using it right now. And that's what I have there. But because the max size that I can fit in that space is only 32 inch, I dare you to find a 32 inch 4K television. you know. And I'm just saying at a reasonable price, because that was just freaking nuts to try to even find that. And I settled with a lesser expensive 1080 screen, and it's been more than good enough. So with that being said, yeah, and the words, the least expensive 32-inch LCD TVs, the ones that you could find for like dirt cheap right now, those only go to 720. So I got like kind of the best bang for my buck, and that was a couple of years ago already. So like I said, I could use the upgrade, but it's kind of unnecessary. And my upgrade, for those of you who might have not heard me mention this before, is actually going to be in the Vision Pro. That's where I'm gonna, you know, invest my funds for my next setup, because it will allow me to sit in the chair right here and kind of project a 90-inch screen while I'm looking at Aiden, you know, playing on the floor next to me, and be editing Final Cut Pro on a screen that big. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that, right? But at the same time, that is a virtual 4K screen at 90 inches that I'm gonna have now, and that's where it's gonna be a lot of fun, because I'm not gonna need the physical space, and it will allow me to maximize the most with what I'm doing here, right? It might even eliminate some other things, right? It might eliminate some of these extra screens if oh, we'll see exactly how it has to work out, because not all the details are out on that as well. And they did show and demonstrate that you're able to look at your MacBook Pro, right, and pull up your like programs and your timelines. But how will that work exactly with a Mac Studio, right? There's no camera that it could recognize and see that I'm looking at it, or it's looking at me, vice versa, right? So, you know, I want to be able to use the Vision Pro with the power of my Mac Studio, which it might be as simple as, hey, instead of plugging it to an outlet, you plug it to the USB port in the front, and now that not only powering up the system, but now it's connected to it as well, allowing you to use that juice, right? Like I said, not all the details are out, but that's what I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Man, I got a mustache hair that is riding up and tickling the bottom of my nose. If you guys see me constantly going to it, it is driving me nuts. So apologies ahead of time, because it has got me like about to sneeze. He is right there, and he is not cooperating. All right, let's continue. Went on a soliloquy of a 90-inch TV. So Michael says, Thanksgiving weekend is an upgrade tech play. Just got my Mac Studio and Rodecaster Duo on the way. Exactly, right? It's like, and that's another thing. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of like, I feel that I would be hard to shop for, right? Because I kind of plan all the things that I want, and I schedule, and I save accordingly, right? It's what I have to do, but I make sure that I always get what I want. So oh, Mr. Duncan is saying to Michael that he's going to love the studio. I absolutely agree. And if you got one of the new M2 ones, I could just imagine. Now, I can't wait for the M3s to come out. Even though not necessary, I might be pulling the trigger on one of those because of the new ray tracing and gaming aspect of it. I think I will really enjoy that as well. So to be able to kind of play some of the games that I enjoy on PC on the Mac Studio, so that I don't have to go anywhere else to play these games. Oh, goodness. Tickle mustache is what I got right now. Oh, Michael says he's on it right now. Just finished my first rough assemble on Premiere. So the first on the new machine, I mean. Says doesn't exist, but most monitors can add Apple TV or Roku stick to be on the TV. I'm not sure exactly. Says, have you tried the Vision Pro? No, actually, nobody has outside of the people who went to the first initial event, right? To my knowledge, right now, nobody besides that first initial test group at the Apple campus during the announcement was the first and only ones to get their hands on it. If there are people out there that have their hands on it ahead of time, and I'm saying maybe MKBHD or someone of that sort that is like well connected with them, might have a unit ahead of time with active NDAs, but nothing that has come out about the system itself, including the information on the developers who are creating applications for it as we speak. So I can't wait. I just went back the other day and typed that in, the Vision Pro, and just rewatched some of the experiences that people were coming out with, you know, like, and their initial reactions. And I can't wait to kind of do the same thing to share with you all my first initial reactions of what this system is capable of and what I foresee in the future it, you know, having, so, or it becoming, because that's the whole thing. Like I remember when the iPhone first came out and there was no apps, right? And then the iPhone 3G came out and there was like the phrase that came out, there's an app for that, right? Like anything that you want to do with your phone, there's an app for that. And even though Apple created the device, right, in all sincerity, they created a device and they created the platform and the system to build upon, right? Like the App Store, right? Creating the App Store and creating that landscape for developers to be able to make an application for this device. And then at the same time, what's going on here? Oh, okay. Sorry, I got distracted with a screensaver. So you know what? Let's talk about that. Let me see if I can fix that. Not right now. All right, I'll continue. But the fact that the developers are the ones who actually made the iPhone what it is today, and even Android phones, right? It was all the APK developers who are creating applications to do a variety of different things within your smart device, is what made it a must-have item. So it was the community, when you really think about it, that created the applications that made these devices so, you know, like make it such an item that's like kind of like undeniable, right? I guess is a good word to put in there. Something that you would need to have. Like right now, an iPhone or a Samsung slash, you know, whatever other company that you want to put, basically a smartphone. A smartphone in today's day and age is more vital than a car, right? And people will be like, what? And like, if you think about it, it is, because if you are not in communication, you're kind of completely out of it. Yet if you have a smart device, not only are you connected, but you have access to things like Uber and Lyft that will then supplement your need for a vehicle in that use case scenario. So that's where I said, like, the flip really goes into play when I was doing phone repairs and recognizing that someone without their phone definitely was a lot worse off than someone without a vehicle, even if it was for an hour. So it's very interesting. So it really goes to show you how far we've come when it comes to technology. Oh, the message right underneath it after I went on that soliloquy is like, oh, maybe not. It's not out yet. Exactly. It's not. Brandon, I got someone here that says Birdman Gaines. Thank you for, stopping by. And he asked me a question that says, did I go to Hollywood Hills High School? And I did. Now, I don't recognize like your avatar, so to speak, but I definitely did go to Hollywood Hills High School. Spartans. Go Spartans. M2 Max. Nice. That's dope, man. You're gonna enjoy the hell out of it. That's the whole thing. Like it kind of becomes like a like you almost forget how awesome this device is just because it is so steadfast, right? It is so dead on and is just like reliable. It is consistent as all hell, and I absolutely I have zero complaints on it. That's about it. Like I still haven't updated to the latest software on this machine because this is the one that runs everything, including my Final Cut Pro and all that stuff. So I've updated both my laptop and my Mac Mini that I have sitting here off to the side, and there's a lot of cool features to the new operating system, but I still haven't done it on my Mac Studio. But that's a conversation for a different day. Kevin says, depending on what phone you upgrade, offers deals are like. Might grab a new phone. Other than that, you know what? Talking about that, that's actually a really good point, because the only thing that I could really use to upgrade is my phone. So if there's a good deal, I might pull the trigger on it. And this is for the new iPhone, right? I want to get the new iPhone. Man, is it 14? Man, I don't even know what number it is. If it's no, we haven't gotten to 15, right? It's the 14 Pro Max, right? Well, anyways, the latest version, the USB-C one that just came out, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I am running a blank on it. I've been using the iPhone 11 Pro since for years, so I haven't really worried about it. I believe it is the 14 Pro Max. So the 14 Pro that just came out this last iPhone season is gonna have the capability of recording that spatial video without having the headset of the Vision Pro. So with that being said, that's what I want to invest also into, for the simple reason that I want to be able to record a lot of video that I'll then be able to enjoy in spatial, like full glory, so to speak, at home at my own time. Okay, so yeah, it was just confirming that it was about the 32s or smaller 4K TVs. Exactly. They're just like non-existent. So I got the best that I could for the space, kind of IKEA-tizing it. Oh, so Mr. Moderator did just correct me, and it is the 15 Pro Max. Oh man, that's so bad. I should get roasted for that. I should know better. 15 Pro Max. I totally failed on that. Says I saved for a while and had my wife hold my hand as I hit the buy button. Oh, I just got it now. I said I saved for a while and had my wife hold my hand as I hit the buy button. That's very funny. Kevin says, I know some people that live in my hometown in Ohio that would fight about that. They also haven't traveled more than 60. Okay, so Birdman says he's new. Well, thank you for stopping by. He says, I went to South Broward and graduated 2000. So definitely within my age group. So That's funny. I went to South, like I spent time in South Broward as well, hung around there, had friends in a lot of different high schools, or, and even different games. Also, another fact was that unfortunately for me, my parents decided to move around a lot when I was in high school. So I spent time in Miramar High School, which is the Patriots, right? So I spent like 3 months there. I think that's all the time that I spent that year in that school. I don't remember. I think I spent a little time in South Broward, but if it was a little, believe it or not, it would have been like a month. Like that's about it. But I don't really have any recall of like any classes that I took there, so I would scratch that. I also remember, Hollywood Hills was my main high school, and that's where I spent the majority of my time. Started, bounced around, and kind of ended up back there as well. Mr. Duncan says M2 Max is what he has. So yeah, they have very similar machines. So yeah, just to finish off Kevin's comment, they said more than 60 miles in any direction and that they're stuck in a bubble. Exactly. And this is the correction of the Pro Max, 15 Pro Max. So that lets you know how far along or how far back. Everybody's making fun of me. T Bizzle is in the house. Tom Buck is waving to everyone here, and that is the last comment that I have. Well, happy holidays to you, Tom, and to everyone. That's actually like, thanks, Kevin. I wanted to thank you because I'm actually going to start looking into the iPhones, because that would probably be my best bet as far as getting any deal for this holiday weekend. But if you're just watching this and by any chance you haven't hopped onto the Ecamm bandwagon, that I highly recommend you check them out as well for this cyber weekend. I can't exactly say anything exactly, but just know that just like every store is ramping up for the holiday, Ecamm is just the same. So there's a link in the description down below if you're wondering how and trying to figure out how I'm able to, like take a comment like this and just bring it up, have a motion background while broadcasting in 4K on a live stream for what is 155 consecutive weeks. So that's exactly where we're at. I forgot to mention that we are at week 155 of the Camera Junkie live stream. That's 155 consecutive weeks without skipping a beat. Now, we are getting right there, and I was actually doing some math, so I'm glad to be bringing this up right now, because next week is actually 156, which is 156 episodes, 156 weeks, which accumulates to 3 years. And Tom, that you're here, I'm just going to send you an invitation right now, even though I'm going to be sending out a formal one this week, right, to you and to a variety of different people, that not next Saturday as far as the cyber weekend, right, because it wasn't that, but the weekend after that will actually be episode 157, which will be the full circle of 3 consecutive years, kind of starting with episode 1 and not being 0. 156 is actually just a week ahead, because I didn't start on cyber weekend / Thanksgiving. I actually started at what was it, the Vlogmas, right, in December, and starting from then and having every Saturday consecutive, we're going to be 3 years, which is something that I'm very proud of, because it's something that's been under my control, right? My effort is, the fact that I decided to make this the weekly hangout, and we haven't missed it. You guys are the reason why this is a success and makes this like such a dope place to hang out, learn about cameras, and always have different opinions, because as much as I try to inform, I learn so much from all of you, like being corrected that it's an iPhone 15 and not an iPhone 14. Right? But 3 years, and I'm gonna be sending out some invitations, so if you do have the time, I'm going to be having like an open live stream. It's just gonna be a hangout, so it's gonna look totally different. And to give you a good example, I'm just gonna create a new scene, right? And creating a new scene, this is basically what it looks like, right? This is just my camera feed, no extra bells and whistles. And because of it, it's going to allow me to do a variety of different things. Like I'll be able to add a secondary camera for a guest like this. And depending on exactly who shows up in the live stream, I'll then be able to continue to just like add more and more guest cameras. And if with the power of Ecamm, you could, if you have enough bandwidth, be able to bring up to 10 guests onto a live stream. So even though it might be a bit chaotic, it's kind of how we started when it came to the Vlogmas and all of the things that kind of kicked all of this right off. So I can't wait to just have a lot of fun and using the power of Ecamm, and we're just gonna have fun. We're just gonna hang out and talk stories and how things have changed in the past 3 years since the start of that Vlogmas, and how many things have transpired. Speaking to Paul, Mr. Moderator, just him in particular, how much things have changed in the last 3 years is kind of mind-boggling. And I just can't wait for the continuation to see exactly where it goes from here. Now, I also have a pretty good feeling that the Vision Pro, right, is going to not only it's gonna do something pretty big, because I'm being honest. I live in North America. I have access to this device, and there's a lot of people throughout the world that are not going to have the ability to be able to have a hands-on experience with this. So I foresee a lot of things with the Vision Pro, both for my photography channel and a channel that I kind of have going to be dedicated to the Vision Pro and creating content based around that. Right? So those are all things that I've been working on in the background, because you gotta be prepared. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm preparing for what I'm going to be doing, and on top of utilizing the Vision Pro, a lot of how to edit Vision Pro videos and stuff like that is the content that I'm gearing up to make, that you're gonna. Okay, we're still live? Yes, we're still live. What was that? I'm gonna figure it out. I think I hit scroll down or page down accidentally on my keyboard. So, but we march on. All right, let's go back to the chat to see what you guys are talking about. Michael says that he also has the iPhone 11. But the 15 Pro Max is next month's savings killer. The savings killer for me, man, for next year, the one that I really was not expecting, that I'm like, this is so much a want, is the new Sony camera. As a camera junkie, the new A9 III, that's going to be a game changer. And that's what last week's, subject was here on the live stream. Literally just talking all about the potential of that camera, and that itself is also another thing that I think is going to be a very net positive for the channel and the things that I'm going to be doing in the future, right? As far as a 5-year plan goes, right, with what's happening here, this is now time for some big moves and some big changes in the next 2 years. So I'm excited for it. And that's just literally going with this fictitious timeline of, Vlogmas and everything that I've been doing. So in all sincerity, it's only been about a year and a half of the 3-year run, right? Give or take a month, but about a year and a half that I've actually totally stopped. Excuse me. That I totally stopped doing the phone repairs and have just been completely dedicated to the content creation. So that's my actual timeline, but just still going back from like starting the Vlogmas and things like that. We're at year 3, and now it's time to literally, put the pedal to the metal and let's get some things done. Oh, thank you very much, Michael. And also thank you to Kevin. Yes, 3 years is amazing. And it's just crazy that, like it doesn't feel that way, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I was just taking out leftovers and I'm like, wow, I'm going to be doing that again this week. I'm going to have an abundance of food in the fridge. So it's just like so many things that is just like, when you're wrapped up in the middle of it, the time flies, right? And Paul actually was on a call, right? Yeah, it wasn't a call, it was a call that we called Doc Rock that we were testing, and then we went live into the it wasn't the Ecamm group, it was a Facebook group, but it was the Let's Get Live group, and we just started hanging out there. Or was it the Ecamm group? I don't even remember, but still, we were just having so much fun, right? Talking, just talking smack, right? And when we finished up, I was literally just letting him and Doc know, like, how lucky are we that we get to do this as like employment, right? That we get to hang out with amazing people that we also get to consider our friends, and at the same time, produce content in a fun manner that, like, hanging up the phone, you just have like, or the call, you just have like so much joy and the biggest smile and like feeling of fulfillment. And that is what I wish for everyone, right? So that's why I say upgrade your skills before your gear, pursue your passion, and everything else will be settled accordingly. Yeah. Kevin's got a question here. Cool. Says, how are you liking the small newer light, and how are you modifying it? Okay, that's a good question. Like, it's okay. It is not the end all or be all, but for $100 light, I really enjoy it. So now let's go to the, nope, that's the wrong view, the overhead view. Let me adjust the angle. All right, and I'm gonna turn it off real quick as I talk about it. So this is exactly how I have it diffused. I had a piece of paper on the wall, but then I realized that I had those canvases, which putting a canvas there was also going to help with reverberations off of that wall, and leaving it white is a perfect canvas, pun intended, to actually reflect the light. So if this modifier were to be faced towards me with the built-in diffusion that's here, it is still way overpowered, and I can just show you exactly what we're dealing with. Oof, you can see how it's blown out, and if we go to this shot, look at what we're dealing with, right? So now going back to it, what I was able to do was then bounce the light. Let's put that back. Ooh. And now the light is bouncing off of that, and that is now taking a further path, right? So we're cutting out of like a lot of inches, seeming that the light source was hanging out somewhere in this area. We're now adding an extra like 12 inches and maybe 6 bouncing back from the light source itself. So we got 6 and 12. We're looking at, we just added 18 inches of light diffusion from this light. So hypothetically, the light will then act according to that added distance. And second, it bouncing off of the canvas is also another level of diffusion, right? Because 18 inches would be one effect if it were just directly 18 inches further away or deeper, like if I could hypothetically sink it into the wall. But having the diffusion from the canvas as well softens that light up as well, and this is still at 1%, right? Let me just double check. Yep. And that's the whole thing. What I did notice about it, and it's why I kind of said what I had mentioned about that light initially, which was that there's really no big difference as far as 1% to 2% as far as the output goes, especially in such close proximity. And it is because of the way that they designed the light. So there's two knobs on it. The one that controls the temperature, so going from 6500 to a much warmer tone, right? It has kind of like that, how could I explain it? That it's like a clicky knob, right? So like as you move it, it feels kind of like the mouse cursor, that has got like that little stepping clicks on it, right? And that's cool, but I would have preferred that clicky step to be on the percentage side, right? Because the percentage side is a flowing one, and it's a lot harder to get the granularity that you want out of it. So if those two knobs were switched, it would be preferable to me. But that's where I actually think that Ulanzi saved on their kind of production cost, right? And I haven't opened it, so I can't guarantee it, but it seems to me that they kind of decided to produce an LED light with old school technology, right? Because instead of having a digital like adjustment of the variation of power output, they actually have it on the knob itself. And that's why I think that it's a free flowing knob, because I think they went to the old school style of connection knob, meaning that the more you turned it towards the right, the more actual like copper to copper was touching, increasing the output, because it was increasing the pads that were actually touching. So this has to do with like how much current could flow through the connection, and limiting the connection size will limit the output. And that's what I think is being used as far as the power output goes. So it's giving you a digital readout as far as the number value goes, but I still thinking that it's using the old school like physical technology for the actual like output of the electricity headed to the COB, or circuit on board, which is the bulb itself in it. Now it does have that 3000 milliamp battery on it installed into it, so that is like really cool for the fact that it is portable, and it could give you over an hour and a half of output in pretty much any location. So not only for videography or photography use, but being able to kind of take that outside while I'm doing something on my car and just shine a massive amount of light without having to carry around or bring a bunch of cables, just because I'm going to be there for like 15 minutes, knowing that that battery can give me over 80 minutes at full 100% like tilt, is pretty cool. And for the price, it's very convenient. But it's only a bicolor light. It does have certain modes, which I'm gonna try to illustrate right now, right? Like you can go into what this is, TV mode, right? Then this is candle, which is kind of trying to give like a warm flickering effect, right? This is lightning or faulty bulb, right? It has a strobe effect, paparazzi. This is emergency. So I guess like if you were on the side of the road, you can put that as an emergency light. High low beams, right? But it's still just a bicolor light, so it only has those warm temperatures and those cool temperatures, and it gives you the good range. But depending on your use case scenario, this could be a very good light. And as far as an entry level light, like for under $100, I think it's a no-brainer. That's just me. If you're interested in it, like there's most likely gonna be a bunch of sales going on this weekend for it, especially from Ulanzi. But if you're into the Amazon shopping, I have a link down there. It's an affiliate link for the light and pretty much everything that I have as my gear and setup here. So I use it at its coolest setting for my setup at 6500K so that it could match as best as possible with the remaining lights that I have in my setup. And that's exactly how I have it set up, bouncing that extra light, diffusion, and distance to actually soften it up so that at 1% it's not completely overpowering, and it gives like a nice, you know, soft glow. Because turning it off, you can see how much it actually fills in, you know. And what we look for in photography, and I also try to have always in my videography, is what we call the specular highlights, the little, you know, sparkly in the eye. And that's, you know, by having the correct lighting and the correct position. So if I were to be looking in this direction, this will then become the catch light as my specular highlight. But because I'm facing this direction, that's the spot. And that adds so much light, so much fill, especially me that with the extra beard, right? It definitely throws and casts more shadows everywhere. So having that bit of light, hair light, to separate me from the back, and that's the setup, right? Then it allows all these lights to, you know, kind of play better, right? So the light that I have in the back there, let me go ahead and mess with that one. Call that the monster light. But it allows me to change it to like a violet, even though it still looks blue. You know, you go blue, change it there. Go completely, what's this, like orange? Even go green, yellow, right? Have complete control over it. And come over here, change those lights. Go soft, cool, cool white, right? And really mess around in a variety of different things that you can do. So it's always just having that kind of that knowledge, because one thing that most people never even heard the concept of is the light shielding, right? That light creates a shield from one zone to the next. And the best way that I could explain it is like when somebody's coming at you in a vehicle and they have the long lights, right? The long lights are going to blind you and you won't be able to see what's in front of you because of those lights, because of that same light pollution, light shielding type of effect. So once you have a pretty decent understanding of where light falls off and how you can manipulate it, it allows you to control lights in your favor, and then allows you to highlight like the background lights, right? And make the most of it so that the camera could expose correctly for you as the presenter, and then also your background, you know, so that it all matches, right? Because another thing I can do, kind of have the ceiling lights on as well. See, I turned that off and now I've just sunk in the separation even more, and now it accentuates the backlights and the colors that are at play there as well. All right, let's go back to the chat. Paul says, I had no idea that hanging out in a crazy dude from Hawaii's live stream would be a life changer, right? Likewise. Gretchen says, truth, Paul. Kevin says he might grab one of those if they go on crazy sale too. Yep. Hey, like, I think I got mine on sale. And that's what I was kind of saying. Like, you'd be surprised how many of these things already go on sales, whether it's for an Amazon Prime Day and things like that. Here's my like pro tip when it comes to this, because I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, right? I look for something, and because it's so convenient, right? We all know the reason why. The credit card's already in there, they already have the address. I just click and then hit checkout. Super easy. But here's the pro tip, right? When you want to buy something but you want to get it at its best price, you put it into your cart, right? Because you're gonna buy it, but then you put it into that save for later category. Boom, you're set, you're golden. Because whenever that thing goes on sale, has any type of promotion or anything, Amazon's gonna hit you up. Guaranteed you, it's gonna hit you up and be like, hey, like, I can't tell you how many times they'll be like, this thing is gonna go on sale next month, be ready for it. And I'm like, notify me, you know. And as soon as it goes on sale, I get it for the best price. So I think I paid $80 when they were being sold for $100, right, for my Ulanzi light here, right? And if you can get it for anything of that price or lower, it's kind of like a no-brainer. It is a very good light. It is a video centric light, so no flickering, no issues, and it is very, very powerful. I am very pleasantly surprised with 40 watts, because I honestly tell you, like, 20 watts could be more than good enough, right? Cut that power source in half and I'll use it at 50% tilt and still get more than enough, you know, like lighting, which is crazy. So okay, so Birdman says, am I in manual mode or auto mode for the A6100? I am in manual mode for the videography, right, for video mode, but that's the mode that it's in. I do have autofocus as far as the setup goes, so that if I were to bring something onto the screen like this, it will still autofocus to it and then snap back to my face. That's why I chose Sony, because they have the best autofocus in the game, my opinion. And that's how I have it set up. I do have everything else beyond that set up manually. So on top of this information that we have here, right, that's the lens and setup. I have my white balance set to 5500K with a particular like hue selected to it, because some of you might not know that Sony cameras actually tend to skew a little bit towards the green when it comes to the colors, especially on some of their older cameras. So if you definitely had an A6000, right, not the 6100, but this A6000 was probably one of the worst ones, that if you were shooting outdoors in a like grassy environment, the greens are gonna just jump off the charts. So let's give you a last quick tip, because we're at the hour, right? I'm gonna go to my overhead camera here, right? This is my A6600. So I'm just bringing that up. Do I have a, yeah, I have a cap on it so that we can see, right? We're seeing in the back. What I'm gonna do is, let me see which one I have it set up to. Nope, that's a touch function. There we go. My white balance, right? When I come to the Kelvin scale, can we see that? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go put this back on. I think this will help. No, I can't get it on there, really? Okay. All right, so now we're here, right? And we're checking the temperature. So I said I have my 5500 Kelvin set up there, right? But look down here. You see it says AB0GMM1. because not a lot of people know this about Sony cameras. If you were to click right one more time, bam, oh, you are in the white balance adjustment temperature filter. Let me see if I can show that. Well, there's a little dot down there, right? And you can use this, the trackpad up, down, left, right, to actually skew where the white balance is gonna skew towards. So I actually have it already skewing one stop towards the magenta side, and that's it. So right now, just doing that and throwing to the M1, right, to the magenta side, to counterbalance the kind of built-in greens that are into the Sony system with their sensors. Now I get what you would maybe consider Canon-esque colors, right, out of my Sony camera with all of my photography. Bam, and that's it. So now my white balance is set to that. And that's another pro tip that I use for all of my Sony cameras, and I literally mean all of them, because even from the A6000, and I think even my NEX6, which is a 13-year-old camera here, I'm gonna double, I would be able to double check, but let me show you something that I did. Because this camera, even though I love it, is not the best when it comes to battery life, right? What I did is that even though I am able to click it on and turn on the camera, I disabled the LCD screen. And the viewfinder is actually off as well. So even though this camera is ready to take photos, to see if I could show you, right? Like I don't know if you can hear it. Yeah, it registered here, right? That little click means that I took a photo, but I'm not consuming extra battery on LCD and viewfinder unless it's necessary. And as soon as I'm able to put my eye to the viewfinder, the sensor underneath here, the light sensor, recognizes that I'm trying to see the viewfinder, and that's the only time that it activates it. So it's only on when I'm going to take the photo, and once I'm done, all power is off, conserving the most battery possible, even though the camera is still on. So that's another tip. But because I have it set up that way, I'm not going to go into the menus to change it. I can't show you that this also has the same feature, even though it's much older camera, which has that white balance, color adjustment filter built into those Sony cameras. Okay, I went on a soliloquy. Paul, dropping the link. Thank you very much. He's got all the information on there. Thank you very much. Kathy Hester's in the house. Oh, thank you for stopping by. Says Cheryl and I are sending hugs. Oh, I feel them. I'm gonna make sure that I pass them off over to Aiden as well. Okay, it says the affiliate link took a $99, but there's also a $10 coupon. Well, you see, that's the whole thing. The $10 coupon, I think I got a $20 coupon when I did it. So it goes to show you, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially you, Lonzi, that they're prepping up for this weekend. It says in a small settings and close up in the light situation, there's more than enough light. Oh, absolutely. So this light will definitely be more than enough. It's definitely powerful enough, even if it wasn't the smallest setting, because I know that putting it to 100%. Actually, you know what? Let me give you another example, Kevin, of how decent this light is. Another way that I've been using it is actually completely away from my light setup here. So what I do is, so that this actually doesn't diffuse, right? I take the diffusion off, and then right here on like my metal like thing, I will then remagnetize it right up here and just shoot the light to my ceiling. So I'm just gonna show you what kind of softness you can get by doing something like that. Right? And this is just straight bouncing the light off of the ceiling. And now I would say it's basically creating like a 36 to 38 inch circle on my ceiling. And now that becomes my light source. And why is that important? Well, because I took the diffusion off. Because you see, right here, you're seeing the light as the source, but the light is only bouncing off of the ceiling. We're not seeing anything here because there's nothing there to kind of block it. See, as soon as I put my hand on it, it changes, like even the lighting on myself, right? And the overexposure of my hand. And that's the same thing that happens if we were to put this here. Because now then this becomes the light source here, even though it's glowing, we're creating two diffusion points. So taking that off and just throwing this to the ceiling has been kind of like the one light that I've been using here, you know, at home base with Aiden, and not turning on any other light at 1%. At 1%. And it gives a nice soft glow. And if I wanted some more, then I could kind of, you know, pump it up. And that's, you know, like 100%. And you can see it's still soft and overexposed still. Look at all this clipping. Now, let's go back to 1%. Back to diffusion. And back to the setup. And that's a convenient thing as well. The fact that it can run off battery like that just for minutes, right? And then whenever you need to use it again, you just have the power source, and I just plug it back in to make sure that it's charged. And if it's charged and plugged in, it's indefinite. You can get, I think it was well over 2 hours with it, like at a 1% clip. And, you know, like I haven't done any exact timing testing, but maybe even closer to 3 hours when you're just using it on battery at 1%, because you're just using such little of it. But you get like 80 minutes of it on battery at 100% charge. And I did test that at 100%. And at 100%, I got an average of like 84 to 87 minutes. Right, so it was a little bit past the 80-minute marker, so definitely can say that the battery has enough juice for 80 minutes at 100% tilt on this little light. So, you know, like I said, there's no Bluetooth to it, there's no extra colors, it's not RGB, right? There's a lot of things that it doesn't have, but what it does well, you know. And if you can work with those limitations, the price point is just like kind of another no-brainer, you know, even at $100. Kathy says, I also get crazy deals on Amazon Warehouse. Returns get smashed after Black Friday and Christmas. Yeah, and Xmas. That is so true. Says, I sense a short from vertical video coming from this footage. I just need to get to it, man. See, I've seen $25 or 25% coupon pretty regular on that light. Exactly. David says that's a great light for many settings. Absolutely. And if you were like I said, if you were an outdoor setup, right, you still have the ability to put this in a completely different softbox. You know, there's nothing really made for it. And I will, you know, like be the first one to tell you that there's kind of no light modifiers for this little light, because instead of using a traditional Bowens mount, they use a mini Bowens mount only specific for this setup. So that's where you would have to think about it ahead of time. But at the same time, knowing that, there's so many things when it comes to, you know, film and filmmaking, that you're constantly making your own, you know, like diffusion panels. So for instance, if you were to just happen to have like one of these, you know, like diffusion boxes, you can just take this light and shine it right on there. And just like I bounced the light off the ceiling, and the circular, you know, size of the light became, you know, the light source, that's the same thing that will happen with the scrim and the diffusion panel. So it really is up to you. You can use a variety of different things, and I think we were talking about it with Doc Rock just earlier today, that one thing that I've mentioned as well is like you can get a like very inexpensive frosted shower curtain, right? And that is just another level of diffusion, because it's going to take the light, and instead of it being harsh on you, it's going to take the light particles and scatter them everywhere, making it a much softer, more pleasing light to be used. Kevin, don't tell me that, because I look for them. I'm gonna have to look for them again. Kevin is just blowing my mind, saying that they make mini Bowens to regular Bowens mounts that are pretty affordable too. I look for them, I guess, when they first came out and they weren't there. It has been a couple months already, you know, so if I was already looking for them immediately after purchasing the light, you know that there must have been a demand for it. So I'm surprised that it came out so fast, and that's awesome, because then that allows you to take this and put it into any other type of softbox and you'll be set. I don't see this thing not being able to perform in pretty much any scenario. So, guys, we're 15 minutes past the hour, so we're gonna call it here. I don't have a cities goal this week. Yeah, because I just didn't have the time to set it up. But with that being said, everyone, I've been setting up everything else up. Next week we're doing 156, which is kind of gonna be like the Black Friday. We're probably going to be talking a little bit about the same thing, see if we pulled the trigger on any of these amazing deals or items. But we're going to be hanging out here doing the same thing all over again next week, same time, same place, for episode 156. That is 156 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. And if you do the math, that is 3 years. So after next week, I would have officially have done 3 years of live streams, and we will be celebrating it at the like first episode of year number 4, right? Stepping into year number 4. So I can't wait to have all of your smiling faces hanging out here with me while we cross that milestone and take it to the next level, right? So as always, take care of yourselves and each other. You guys are the reason why this hangout has been my favorite place to be every Saturday night for 3 years. So I can't thank you enough, and I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces as we do it all over again next week. Talk to you.
Saben lo que pasa. Mi abuelita ahora tiene masa. Aquí lo que falta el cajón. En esta jungla soy el gran león. Armen las cosas en el malecón. Lo que gozamos es salsa y son. Ya saben lo que repita son los cueros. Tengo la clave, soy el suero. Esta vida es fuego. Por eso quiero una vida suave, soy sincero. Que viva mi gente, que viva la raza. De noche a día aquí se trabaja. Igual la gozamos, bailamos en plaza. Y esto es calidad pura en todas sus casas.